Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mila, you're at my book nook, and today I have one of my favorite videos that I've, thought up to film, and that is my quarterly reading wrap-up. So for context, if you're seeing this for the first time, you're like, what are you doing? Usually people do monthly wrap-ups or every 2 months or whatever. I do quarterly ones because I don't read enough in a month often enough to justify doing monthly wrap-ups. And you will see what I mean. Because at the beginning of the year, especially, it's always a rough start. It's always 1 to 2 books. So, and then it sort of catches up and I, get into sort of, I guess, the groove of things, so to speak. So yeah, this is the quarter 1 reading wrap-up of 2026. So the first reading wrap-up of 2026. And I'll link all my previous quarter wrap-ups because I only started doing this last year because I realized again, and sometimes I do like wrap-ups if it was like January, February, or like a couple months together. And then I was like, why don't I just do this quarterly so that there's an expectation of this from you, and then I can slowly start to piece things together. So quarterly 1 reading wrap-up. I am going to be using my Instagram post that by the time this video will come out, I believe it's going to be up. So it's just, I like doing the Instagram post because I think it's fun and it's very visual and all that good stuff. So I'll just go through, I guess, the books and all that stuff and my reading goals and everything in between. So let's get started. So for 2026 reading goals, I've had a myriad of reading goals. I'm not going to track every single one of them every single quarter, right? But I am going to talk to you about a majority of them. So my book goal, I think I started this. I think I did this last year as well, and I think that's what I'm going to do moving forward because I've hit that number and beyond every year since starting like my Bookstagram channel and stuff like that. So my goal every year from now on will be 25 books. 25 books, and if I get 25 books, it's all good. That's like 2 books a month, right? 2-3 books a month. Not the end of the world if I don't get it. But again, as I said, last year I went beyond. I think the year before I also went beyond. And I think there was 1 year where I didn't do as much, but all the books that I read, I think were very, very good. And I think last year was definitely my highest year since starting like a Bookstagram and since being in the social media aspect of it all, which I think definitely changed my reading habits quite a bit. And I discovered the differences in my habits versus other people's. Like, it's just an interesting place to be in like the social aspect of, and the social media aspect of this community that I've literally grown up in, So yeah, and so we continue. One of my goals was to read more arcs, catch up with arcs. I didn't want to give myself like a goal being like, oh, read 50% of arcs. I've got a lot of arcs. Okay, I've got a lot of physical ones. I've got a lot of ones on NetGalley. So mainly these are the ones that are on NetGalley. But I'll talk about it in detail once we get to like the actual monthly wrap-ups. So I read 3 arcs, which isn't bad. I think it's a solid step forward, and I'm hoping to read more during the year. I don't want to get to 100%. I don't think that's feasible for me because I go on like NetGalley requesting sprees, and then I get approved, so my number just goes, you know what I mean? Like, it's a love-hate relationship at this point. And, it's a funny relationship, to be honest. So right now I'm sitting at 47% as far as my ratio goes on NetGalley, I believe, according to the Excel spreadsheet that I made. So there's that. As far as Unread Archives, which is the series on my channel where I spin a wheel and I read a book from said wheel, and some of these are on my shelf, some of these are like Kindle reads, whatever. I have read 3. So I have 2, I believe, 3 episodes correlating to it. I don't even know how many episodes. I will link them all down below. I have an Unread Archives, it's literally called Unread Archives, playlist, and I will link it down below. And for those that don't know, I run a book club called the Musaeum Society Book Club. And I also have a vlog series on my channel, although it doesn't happen as often as Unread Archives, because I don't spin a wheel for the Musaeum Book Club picks. And that is called Musaeum Archives. So, coming from the title of the book club being Musaeum Book Club. So, Musaeum Society. So out of the 24, no, sorry, the 24, out of the 12 fiction books that I chose and the 12 classics, as well as the 12, I think there's more, 12 nonfiction, I've read only 2 book club picks. And those were the 2 fiction books that I read from the fiction list. And no classics yet, no nonfictions, and no audiobooks. I want to do at least 3 audiobooks. No audiobooks, unfortunately. So as I said, I've read 15 books out of 25, if I even said that, and that is 60% through my goal. And obviously once I hit 25, I'm gonna go beyond. Like I don't really, sometimes I change my goal, sometimes I don't, it just depends. It's kind of nice to see like when you've hit your goal and you go beyond and you're like, you're 5 books ahead. You've read like 50 books, you know, you're 25 books, like, you know, it's so much fun. It's like 150%, right? So yeah, average time to finish according to Storygraph. All these stats and stuff are from Storygraph. Just a heads up, I will link it all down below. And also the Musaeum Society Book Club like picks are challenges on Storygraph if you want to check that out. I will also link the January to June book club pick announcement down below if you want to check that out and see what books we're reading, stuff like that. And then the Musaeum Society Book Club, I've already chosen the books. The Musaeum Society Book Club announcement for July to December, okay? It will come in late May, early June. I want to say that's my, you know, thing, but I might film it ahead of time so I can edit it and just like schedule it and not worry about it. Because I've chosen the books already, right? I'm solid in the books and I've, you know, found a couple of loopholes because this is my book club, guys. You know, I don't really have rules for myself or for you, if anything, but you know what I mean? So yeah, so all the stats and stuff like that are from Storygraph if you want to check that out. So average time to finish was 1 day. And then page numbers, I've had 3 that were under 300 pages and under, which is 20%, 10 that were 300 to 499 pages, which is 67%, and 2 that were over 500 pages, which is, am I in frame? I don't even know. Am I like, why does it? Yeah, there we go. I think that's better. Sorry, I'm just making sure I'm like in frame. It doesn't look stupid. And 2 were over 500 pages, which is 12%, and all 15 were fiction. I'm working on it. I feel like that's the same thing that I said last year. But anyways, for the whole year, I'm working on it. Nonfiction is so difficult to get into, guys. So in January, I read 2 books. I read Spy Family Volume 2, which was the first book that I finished. And then I read Gideon the Ninth. I finally read Gideon the Ninth after it gathering dust on my bookshelf for like upwards of 3 years, I think. And I made my parents drive to a very specific, like, you know, bookstore, because it had like a cafe. It was like a cafe, a game board bookstore or whatever. Because I don't like the versions where like the cover is slightly cut off. So I have like a proper, it's like a proper, I don't know where it is right now. Oh, it's behind here. Hold on a second. Like it's like the proper, you know, paperback, and there's no, oh, found my bookmark. Found a bookmark. There's no like version of this for Harrow and Nona, which is the only reason why I don't have the other 2 books and why I haven't read them. So, and I think I kind of guessed something about Nona and something like the correlation between Nona. Anyways, I mean, I made the mistake of reading the synopsis of Nona, but that was my stupidity. So in February, we have also 2 books, and those were the 2 arcs that I read. In February, 2 out of 3 arcs. So I read The Last Contract of Isako by Fonda Lee, which was fantastic, 5 stars. And then I read The Library of Amerlin, which I have right here because the publisher kindly sent me a physical copy, and I actually have Museum Archives videos for both of these. I have vlogs for both of these. So yeah. And then in March, I read 11 books. I read Spy Family Volume 3. I also read Spy Family Volume 4. In between that, I read Daughter of the Forest by Juliet Marillier, and this is a recommendation coming from Kara Can Read. Love her channel. She's one of the biggest reasons why I decided to take the, jump, so to speak, and make a YouTube channel. And I love this. I think it is actually going to be one of the best books that I've read this year, one of my favorite books for sure. And I want to immediately consume everything that Juliet Marillier has written. So there's that. And then I read a couple of romance books. And if you know me, the only romances I will willingly read are India Holton books. They're historical rom-coms with like slight fantasy to them. Yeah, I read a bunch of romance books. I read the entire Love Light Farm series. I read Love Light Farms, In the Weeds, Mixed Signals, and Business Casual. And in between Love Light Farms and In the Weeds, I read Antiquarian's Object of Desire by India Holton, which is the third book in her Love Academic series, which I got an e-arc of, and then my friend actually pre-ordered it, and she's given it to me for my birthday as a birthday present, even though it comes out like a month before my birthday. Anyways, very sweet of her. But so I read the Antiquarian's Object of Desire. Fantastic. Just such a good ending to the series. Everything I have ever hoped it would be. And then I read Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. I have never read the book. I haven't seen any adaptations, even the newest one, whatever it was, with a bunch of like A-list actors or whatever. I didn't see that. When my parents were watching it, I actually walked out of the room. I did not. I watched Death on the Nile, and I think it was Night in Venice or something like that. I watched that with them, but I didn't watch Murder on the Orient Express because I think I wanted to read the book first and then watch it. Agatha Christie strikes again, because I was so far off in my guess. I was so confident about it. It's like, I think it's going to be this. And yeah, I was so confident about it too. No, you think you know. You don't, you know? So Murder on the Orient Express, fantastic. Then we have Talon's Sister by Jen Williams. This is a book that Elliot Brooks talked about a lot. She's another booktuber that I really love. Huge inspiration for me as well, as far as booktube channel things. And she raves about this duology. And I finally sat down and read it. I think it was a spin. Was it a spin? I don't remember. I think it was a spin. It was a spin. It was an unread archive spin. And yeah, it was great. Fantastic. 5 stars. I think this is definitely another contender for the best books of the year list. And I don't say this just because like, oh, Elliot is like a huge, inspiration for me and I love her channel and she's one of my favorite booktubers. No, like genuinely our tastes align so like almost perfectly. There's only been a couple of instances where books that she didn't really like, I loved. I don't think I can name any off the top of my head, but very, very minimal amount where, we didn't really agree, whereas I liked it, she didn't like it, or she liked it, I didn't really like it. But yeah, loved this one. And then I read Well Met by Jen DeLuca. This is a really difficult series for some reason to find in Canada for some reason. I don't know why. But this follows like there's 4 books. I think there's a 5th one as well. And it's like Well Traveled, Well Met, Well Something, and Well Something as well. And they're all set at this one Ren Fair in this small town. I think in Maryland, if I'm not mistaken. Somewhere in the U.S. on the East Coast-ish, East side, where my side of the country, okay? Because I'm north of Toronto. But yeah, this was really cute. I'm still, I think, gathering my footing as far as like romances go and what I like and what I don't like about romances. I think I'm still gathering my footing, still trying to figure out what kind of POVs I like, what kind of POVs I don't like, what tropes I like, what tropes I don't like. Yeah, this is like enemies to lovers, and I feel like it's, I don't know, it's a fun enemies to lovers. Like, I don't hate it as far as enemies to lovers, because I find that enemies to lovers in modern day setting is so difficult to do because it's literally not that serious, so, and if it was that serious, then there shouldn't even be a chance of you becoming lovers if you're actually like enemies for a very specific reason. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it doesn't fully, function. It doesn't fully work in a modern day setting unless it's a very specific set of circumstances. And even then, it really boils it down to like a miscommunication trope. But anyways, those are the 15 books that I read. Now we go into the stats. Formats, 13 were digital, 1 was print, and the 1 print was Library of Van Merlin. And the combo 1 was Gideon the Ninth, because I did partly via audiobook and partly via ebook, physical, whatever, tickled my fancy at the time. And then gender of author by books, 12 books were by women and 3 were by men. So that's how I count it. I don't count it as I don't count how many men and how many women. I count how many books were by how many people. It's just the specific books. And then graph time, as for where I got them from, 9 were on my Kindle. 1 was Kindle Unlimited, which I believe what was the Kindle Unlimited book? Trying to remember. Murder on the Orient Express was Kindle Unlimited. 1 was a physical ARC, Library of Merlin. 2 were NetGalley, so Last Contract of Isako and Antiquarian's Object of Desire I read as e-ARCs. 1 was Libby and 1 was owned, which was Gideon the Ninth. The Libby one, I think that was Daughter of the Forest, actually. I believe that was Daughter of the Forest, if I remember correctly. But yeah. More graphs versus YA. 12 books were adult books and 3 were YA. And I actually searched this up because I wasn't sure where Spy Family actually lands. In bookstores, it's actually in the YA, teen section, hence why 3 of the books were YA. Genres, according to Storygraph, these are overlapping, so they're not going to equal 15. I have to say this every time. So yeah, fantasy 5, contemporary 5. 1 was queer, 2 were science fiction, 7 were romance, 2 were historical, 3 were manga, 1 classic, 1 mystery, and 1 crime. And actually, Murder on the Orient Express is considered a classic, so take with that as you will. Standalones versus series. 14 books were part of series and 1 was a standalone, and I believe I finished. How many series did I finish? Hold on a second. Let me tell you how many series I finished. I finished 2 series, which is crazy. Yeah. And then star ratings, I had 7 4.75 stars and 8 5 stars. So I'm giving out a lot of point something stars this year, which is very interesting. And my average rating is 4.88 stars. And the Q1 hopefuls that I read, which is my quarterly TBR, I read Gideon the Ninth, Library of Merlin, and Talon Sister. And as for the YouTube videos, you should also check out, obviously, this one. Please like, comment, subscribe. I have my quarter 1 book haul. I have my Read the Continents TBR. I have my Toronto bookstore vlog wherein my boyfriend features later on. And I have book recs for your favorite mythological creatures. So I will link all of that down below. And as for Q2 hopefuls, I will speedrun this because I'm going to have a Q2 hopefuls video. So yeah, so most of the good chunk of these are the book club picks. So Graceless Heart, Brothers Karamazov, Daughter of Crows, which I'm reading right now actually. 3 Musketeers, Anna Karenina, Persians by Lloyd Welland-Jones, Helen of Troy by Bettany Hughes, and Silk Road by Valerie Hansen are the nonfiction picks. And we've got Le Comte de Monte Cristo and The Lord of the Rings in Russian, so Властелин колец. Was it Братство Хранителей Кольца, the first book, because I want to read just the first, just book 1, not both books, you know what I mean? Then we've got Anne of Green Gables, Sense and Sensibility. We've got Rusalka and Chernyavok. We've got Homer and his Iliad, Spy Family 5. We've got Frieren 2. I need to continue Frieren. I don't know what's wrong with me. Then we've got Vinland Saga. I really want to get into that. We've got This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me. The reason why this appears on this TBR as well as last quarter's TBR is because it actually came out on the 31st. So realistically, I wouldn't have been able to read it within the first quarter, which I should have thought about, but whatever. And we have Witch Hat Atelier Volume 2. Because I really need to continue. And I also want to get into solo leveling. So Volume 1. To Shape a Dragon's Breath, Unicorn Hunters, which I'm very excited about because the premise sounds awesome. Unicorns are great. I love the covers. I love both covers. It is really giving The Last Unicorn, even though I've never read the book or I didn't finish the movie. I started watching it with my sister, but anyways. And I have an arc of this, so this is very exciting. Weaving Cha, which blew up, and I love supporting a woman of color, writing stories. And then we've got Upgrade by Blake Crouch. I really want to get more into sci-fi because Project Hail Mary lives rent-free in my head. And then we've got The Wager, which is a tale of shipwreck, mutiny, and murder. This one, I don't think it's fully nonfiction. I think it's a fictionalized version of a true story, which I found really interesting. And yeah, this is really popular, fictionalized story. And then we've got A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin. So yeah, and that is it for this video. Yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you read in the first quarter. If you have similar reading habits to me, where it's like it starts kind of rough at the beginning of the year, and then, I mean, honestly, one book a month is literally fine for me. Like, I'm not a stickler about it. I'm not going to force myself. If I don't feel like reading, I'm not going to force myself, you know. I will give in to the doom scrolling thing of it all, right? But that being said, like, it's really nice to be able to say, oh, I read 11 books in 1 month, you know. And now, like, I do want to say this, that I never doubted people that said they read over 100 books a year. I really never doubted them, truly, because my dad goes through an audiobook like every 2 days, right? And I watch booktubers like Kayla from Books and Lala. She reads an insane amount of books every month. She reads like 20, I think she averages like probably 15 to 20, even more books a month, right? So, and they're not like short, they're not like romances that you can knock out in a day. No. They're like, some of them are long books, right? Some of them are really complicated books. And so, not saying that romance can't be complicated, but anyways, you know what I mean. But after reading 11 books in a month, I see how people do it. I see how people manage to read, 200 books a year, because I really prioritize reading. And I prioritize reading books that ended up being very easy for me to read, and I just, absorb them, so to speak. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. These are really fun for me to film. I love filming these. I find them really fun. And I know I don't take the traditional route of doing the whole monthly wrap-up thing, because again, I don't read enough to justify a whole, video about it. But yeah, so as I said, I hope you enjoy. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down below. If you finished this, put a flower emoji, because we're going into spring and it's Q2. So put like a pink flower emoji if you finished watching, and I will see you in the next one.